In the sterile and impersonal environment of Amsterdam's Schiphol Airport, on January 22nd, 2021, a scene unfolds, devoid of drama. There are no gunshots, no frantic chase, only the silent, almost bureaucratic detention of a 57-year-old traveler, a Canadian citizen born in China, preparing to board a connecting flight home. His name is Tse Chi Lop. To the other passengers, he is an anonymous face in the crowd. To a consortium of intelligence agencies from around the world, he is a ghost they have been hunting for over a decade. This man, detained without incident by Dutch police, is no ordinary criminal. He is the primary target of Operation Kungur, one of the most complex and extensive organized crime investigations in history. A global manhunt led by the Australian Federal Police, AFP, that involved 20 law enforcement agencies from Asia, North America, and Europe. The contrast between the banality of his capture and the monumental scale of the accusations against him is absolute. This moment is not the violent end one might expect for a drug kingpin. It is something different, something more modern, and perhaps more unsettling. It perfectly reflects the modus operandi of the man and his empire, a power based not on ostentatious violence, but on anonymity and ruthless corporate efficiency. Intelligence agencies compare him to the most notorious figures in drug trafficking, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman and Pablo Escobar. His organization, a super cartel known to its members simply as the Company and to authorities as Sam Gor, is accused of controlling up to 70% of the methamphetamine market in the Asia-Pacific region, an industry valued at up to $70 billion annually. For years, this syndicate flooded Australia with tons of high-purity methamphetamine, fueling a public health crisis and reaping billions in profits. This brings us to the central question driving our investigation. How did one man, virtually unknown to the public and a specter even to many law enforcement agencies, build a criminal empire of this magnitude? How did he manage to unite historical enemies, revolutionize drug trafficking logistics, and operate with near total impunity for years, becoming the most significant drug supplier to an entire nation without apparently ever setting foot in it? This is not just the story of a drug lord. It is the chronicle of a paradigm shift in the very nature of transnational crime, a story that reveals the future of global organized crime. To understand the architect, we must first understand the world that forged him. Tse Chi Lop's story is inextricably linked to one of the most pragmatic and brutal criminal organizations to emerge from 20th century China, the Big Circle Boys, or Dai Huwenjai in Cantonese. Unlike traditional triads, with their centuries of history and arcane rituals, the Big Circle Boys were a direct product of modern political upheaval. Their founding members were former Red Guards, young men indoctrinated in the extreme violence of Mao Zedong's Cultural Revolution, who were later betrayed by the very regime they served. Purged and imprisoned in re-education camps around Guangzhou in the late 1960s, they developed a bond forged in brutality and survival. The gang's name, Big Circle, comes from the red circles used to mark these camps on Chinese maps. This experience created a unique criminal psychology. Stripped of all ideology, they became profoundly cynical, amoral, and loyal only to their own clan, a group united by the shared experience of state-sanctioned violence and betrayal. Upon escaping or being released, many fled to the then British colony of Hong Kong, where they applied their paramilitary training to crime. They became infamous for their meticulously planned robberies, their use of firearms, and an extreme violence that terrified the city. In the 1980s, they expanded internationally, establishing operations in Canada, where they specialized in armed robbery, home invasions, and the kidnapping of wealthy businessmen. They were not bound by tradition. They were pragmatic, adaptable, and focused solely on profit. This was the environment that molded Tse Chi Lop. He was a product of an organization of outsiders, which gave him the perspective to see a bigger, more profitable game than the old triad rivalries. While Tse Chi Lop was learning his trade on the streets of Guangzhou and later in Toronto, a seismic transformation was occurring in the heart of the Asian drug trade. For decades, the Golden Triangle, The lawless region connecting the borders of Myanmar, Thailand, and Laos had been synonymous with opium and heroin. But the markets were changing. A new drug, cheaper to produce, more addictive, and far more profitable, was gaining ground: methamphetamine. The catalyst for this explosion was the growing political instability in Myanmar. The Shan state, in particular, became a sanctuary for organized crime. With the central government weakened and in perpetual conflict with ethnic militias, a perfect power vacuum was created. Reports from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, document an exponential increase in synthetic drug production starting in 2021, coinciding with the military coup in Myanmar. The region became home to super labs capable of producing tons of high-purity methamphetamine on an industrial scale. Street prices in Asia plummeted while purity remained high, a clear sign of massive overproduction. For a mine like Tse's, this chaos was not an obstacle, but an unprecedented business opportunity. The failed state of Myanmar was not merely a place to operate, it was a strategic asset, a secure production zone, protected by local militias and far from the reach of international law. It is at this nexus of pragmatic criminality and geopolitical opportunity that Tse Chi Lop emerges. Born in Guangzhou in 1963, he joined the Big Circle Boys in his youth before emigrating to Canada in 1988. His first major appearance on the radar of international law enforcement came in 1998, when he was arrested and convicted in the United States for trafficking heroin from Southeast Asia in a sophisticated alliance with the powerful Rizzuto crime family of Montreal. This experience was, in essence, his postgraduate criminal apprenticeship. Working with the Rizzutos taught him the complexities of a transnational, multi-ethnic logistics network. His arrest and conviction taught him an even more valuable lesson: the importance of compartmentalization and staying away from the physical product. Sentenced to 9 years, Tse was a model prisoner. He showed calculated remorse, strategically cooperated with prosecutors to avoid revealing crucial information about his networks, and in return, received a reduced sentence while his partners faced decades behind bars. His time in prison was not a deterrent, but an incubator. There he met a key figure for his future, Lee Chung-chak, another trafficker with whom he would later found Sam Gor. Released in 2006 and relocated to Hong Kong in 2011, Tse Chi Lop was no longer the same low-level criminal. He was an experienced strategist with a deep understanding of global markets and a clear vision of how to exploit the coming synthetic drug revolution in Asia. He was ready to build his empire. Upon returning to Asia, Tse Chi Lop executed his masterpiece, a move that would redefine the organized crime landscape on the continent. He achieved what was considered impossible. He brokered a peace and forged an alliance among the most powerful and antagonistic triads in Asia. His new organization, Sam Gor, or the Company, was an unprecedented conglomerate, a kind of board of directors for crime that united 5 historically rival groups: the 14K, Wo Shing Wo, and Sun Yi On from Hong Kong, his own Big Circle gang network, and the powerful Bamboo Union from Taiwan. How could one man put an end to decades of bloody turf wars? The answer lies in his approach. Tse did not present himself as a triad boss demanding loyalty through violence, but as a CEO proposing a multi-billion-dollar joint venture. His proposal was purely corporate. First, he offered a solution to their biggest problem: the infighting that attracted police attention and disrupted business. Second, he presented them with a new and exponentially more profitable market: methamphetamine, which required a scale of production and logistics that none of them could achieve alone. Finally, as a member of the Big Circle Boys, he was perceived as a neutral party, an intermediary who could broker a deal without being seen as favoring one Hong Kong triad over another. His leadership was discreet, diplomatic, and business-focused. He avoided the ostentatious lifestyles and public violence that characterized other kingpins, preferring the anonymity that allowed him to operate in the shadows. He negotiated with everyone and ensured that every partner in the value chain received their cut, creating a system based on mutual benefit rather than coercion. With the organizational structure in place, the company implemented a business model that treated drug trafficking with the sophistication of a modern multinational corporation. Production was centralized in industrial-scale super labs in the lawless Shan region of Myanmar, operated by expert chemists brought in from Taiwan, guaranteeing a product of high purity and consistency. Distribution was managed through a global logistics network that used a distinctive brand. The methamphetamine was packaged in tea packets, a signature that became a seal of quality and reliability in the underworld. But Tse's most revolutionary innovation was his customer service policy. Sam Gor introduced a delivery guarantee. If a shipment was intercepted by authorities, the syndicate would replace it at no cost to the buyer. This strategy was a stroke of genius. It transferred the commercial risk from the distributor to the supplier, something unheard of in the drug trafficking world. This policy not only made them an irresistible partner for criminal groups around the world, but also demonstrated their immense power. Only an organization with massive capital and such vast production capacity that the loss of multi-ton shipments was an acceptable operational cost could offer such a guarantee. It solidified their monopoly and transformed their relationship with clients from mere buyers to business partners invested in shared success. To launder the profits, estimated at between $8 and $17.7 billion in 2018 alone, the syndicate employed a complex global system using casinos from Macau to Australia, hotels, and vast real estate portfolios. The AFP even alleged the syndicate illegally used a bank account in the name of an Australian casino to facilitate its transactions. The final destination for much of this production was Australia, the syndicate's most lucrative market. The company systematically targeted the country, exploiting the combination of high demand and astronomical street prices for methamphetamine. It is estimated that Sam Gor became responsible for up to 70% of all illicit drugs entering Australia. To manage the dangerous last mile of distribution, they forged strategic alliances with local groups, such as the notorious Comanchero motorcycle club and Lebanese mafia. Sam Gor acted as the global manufacturer and wholesaler, while the Australian gangs functioned as local franchises, maximizing profits for the syndicate while minimizing the exposure of its leaders. The scale of the operation was staggering. The AFP intercepted massive shipments, often concealed with industrial creativity, tons of liquid methamphetamine disguised in canola oil bottles or infused into mosaic tiles. A single operation in 2012-2013, which focused on the movement of just 20 kilos of methamphetamine between Melbourne and Sydney, resulted in the arrest of 27 people and would, years later, become the key to bringing down Tse Chi Lop himself. Australia had become the jewel in the crown of Sam Gor's empire, but it would also be the origin of its downfall. The scale of Sam Gor's operation finally triggered an unprecedented response from law enforcement. The Australian Federal Police, facing a tsunami of methamphetamine that was devastating their communities, took the lead and formed Operation Kungur. This was not a standard police investigation. It was a global war coalition against a new kind of enemy. Some 20 agencies from Asia, North America, and Europe joined forces, sharing intelligence and coordinating actions in a multinational effort that spanned more than a decade. The task was Herculean. Sam Gor was not a local or national problem. It was a transnational criminal corporation that exploited the fissures of international jurisdiction. While police agencies were constrained by borders, the company operated in a world without them. The length of the pursuit is a testament to the effectiveness of Tse Chi Lop's low-profile strategy. His insistence on staying away from the product and delegating frontline operations made him a ghost. Investigators had to patiently unravel his network from the bottom up, capturing lower-level partners, analyzing intercepted communications, and following the money trail through a labyrinth of shell companies and casinos. They were fighting an agile modern network with the often slower, more bureaucratic tools of traditional law enforcement. The climax of this decade-long hunt came not in a raid on a fortified jungle compound, but in the nondescript corridor of a European airport. On January 22, 2021, Tse Chi Lop was detained at Amsterdam's Schiphol airport. He was in transit, traveling from Taiwan, where he had taken refuge during the pandemic lockdowns, on a flight bound for Canada. His capture was the result of a meticulous piece of geolegal chess. The AFP had requested an Interpol red notice, a global alert for his provisional arrest. When his passport was scanned in the Netherlands, the alert was triggered and Dutch police acted. His lawyers would later argue it was no coincidence, but a deliberate trap, that Australian authorities had engineered his flight itinerary to include a stopover in the Netherlands, a country with favorable extradition laws, knowing it would be their only chance to capture him. After years of operating in the shadows, a single logistical error, a layover in the wrong country, was his undoing. It was a 21st century capture for a 21st century criminal, brought down not by force, but by data, intelligence, and jurisdiction. The arrest triggered a prolonged legal battle. For nearly 2 years, Tse Chi Lop fought his extradition from a Dutch cell, exhausting all avenues of appeal. Finally, on December 22, 2022, he was put in a plane bound for Melbourne, where he was formally arrested and charged by the Australian Federal Police. The AFP hailed it as one of the most high-profile arrests in the history of the country. However, this is where the story takes its most revealing twist. Despite accusations of running a $17.7 billion empire and controlling 70% of Australia's methamphetamine supply, the charge that finally brought him to justice in Australia was for a decade-old conspiracy to traffic just 20 kilograms of methamphetamine between 2012 and 2013, a street value of 4.4 million Australian dollars. This stunning disconnect between the scale of the crime and the nature of the charge is the definitive testament to Tse's strategic genius. He built an organization so perfectly insulated that even after one of the largest international police investigations in history, this relatively minor charge was the only one authorities could bring with the confidence of securing a conviction. It exposed a fundamental weakness in the world's legal systems when faced with a corporate-style kingpin who never touches the product. The king had been captured, but the size of his kingdom made the pretext for his capture seem almost insignificant. Today, Tse Chi Lop sits in an Australian prison, a king in a cage, awaiting a trial that, according to the latest available reports, has not yet reached a verdict. The legal process moves with deliberate slowness, reflecting the complexity of building a case against a transnational mastermind based on years of evidence gathered across multiple continents. For law enforcement, the simple act of bringing him to Australia to face justice was the culminating victory of a decade of work. But the fundamental question looming over his incarceration is not whether he is guilty, but whether his absence truly matters. The consensus among criminologists and UN officials is sobering and almost unanimous. The arrest of Tse Chi Lop, while a monumental police achievement, is ultimately a hollow victory. The king may have been dethroned, but the kingdom remains intact. Jeremy Douglas, the regional representative for the UN Office on Drugs and Crime, put it bluntly after the arrest. It's a great result, but the organization remains. While taking out the leadership of the syndicate matters, the conditions they have effectively used in the region to do business have not been addressed, and the network is still in place. The demand for synthetic drugs has been created, and someone will step up to replace Chua. The history of organized crime supports this assessment. Decapitation strategies rarely have a lasting impact. The death of Pablo Escobar in 1993 led to the implosion of the Medellin cartel, but this only fragmented the market, giving rise to an even more complex and difficult to combat criminal environment with the emergence of the Cali cartel and other groups. The system Tse Chi Lop built was designed to be resilient. The fundamental drivers of his business, the governance vacuum in Myanmar that allows for industrial-scale production, and the insatiable demand in high-priced markets like Australia, have not changed. Sam Gor's decentralized network structure, with its multiple partners and redundant supply chains, does not depend on a single charismatic leader. The arrest of a CEO simply creates a power vacuum that an ambitious competitor or a loyal subordinate will inevitably fill. The problem was never just Tse Chi Lop. The problem is the global illicit ecosystem that he mastered to perfection. And it is here that Tse Chi Lop's true legacy resides. His lasting impact will not be measured in the tons of drugs he trafficked or the billions he amassed, but in the new corporate paradigm he perfected for transnational crime. He was, as analysts have noted, more CEO than triad boss. His success was built on sound business principles, diplomacy over violence, building strategic alliances between competitors, the equivalent of a hostile merger, supply chain innovation, risk management, his revolutionary delivery guarantee, and brand management, the iconic tea packets. The story of Sam Gor is a chilling vision of the future of organized crime. It is a world where criminal enterprises operate with the sophistication, efficiency, and global reach of multinational corporations, exploiting the seams of globalization, the instability of failed states, and the speed of digital finance. The capture of Tse Chi Lop marked the end of a chapter, but not the end of the book. It serves as a stark warning that, in the 21st century, law enforcement may arrest the man, but the market and the company he built to serve it endure. The real battle is no longer against a single kingpin, but against a new form of global, corporate, and terrifyingly efficient crime.